You think you are battling the market right now. You think it is you versus the algorithm, you versus the institutional money, you versus that one red candle that just disrespected your support level. Spoiler alert, you are not fighting the market. You are fighting your own biology. Right now, as we speak, millions of traders are staring at their monitors. They are sweating, their legs are bouncing, their hearts are racing, and they are absolutely desperate for a setup. They want the thrill of action. They are practically begging the charts to do something, anything, so they can click a button and feel alive. But do you know what the top 1% of traders are doing right now? The ones actually pulling consistent, life-changing wealth out of these markets? They are sitting in absolute silence. They are completely, utterly bored, and they are waiting. Welcome to the reality of trading. I am so glad you are here. Today, we are going to talk about the choice you have to make. Do you want the adrenaline rush of a casino gambler, or do you want the quiet, boring, heavily funded bank account of a professional risk manager? Because here's the blunt truth, you cannot have both. The market is entirely out of your control. It does not care about your rent, your ego, or how badly you want to be right. The only edge you will ever have in this game, the only thing that separates the 95% who fail from the 5% who thrive, is the mastery of your own mind. Let us dive in. The illusion of action. Let me ask you a strange question. Why is it that incredibly smart people, we're talking engineers, doctors, people who have built entire businesses from the ground up, can sit down at a trading desk, open a chart, and suddenly sabotage themselves in ways that defy all logic? What is the invisible force that hijacks a highly educated, rational mind and turns it against itself? It starts with a biological trap. From the day we're born, society wires us to believe that action equals progress. If you want to succeed in the real world, you hustle, you grind, you put in the hours, you type faster, you send the emails. In corporate America, constant action gets you the promotion. But trading is the great paradox. In trading, working harder, clicking more, forcing trades, frantically chasing charts does not get you a promotion, it gets you an eviction notice. Most traders fail because they bring a blue-collar work ethic into a sniper's arena. You sit down at your desk and think, I need to make things happen today. That's your first mistake. You cannot make the market do anything. Let's paint the picture. It's 2 p.m., the market is chopping sideways. It looks like the electrocardiogram of a highly caffeinated, very confused squirrel. You have absolutely no edge here. Your trading plan explicitly states, do not trade the afternoon chop. Now, you're smart, you know the rules. You don't just see a green candle twitch and blindly smash the buy button like a gambler at a slot machine. You're far too analytical for that. But as you sit there staring at the screen, a subtle, highly intelligent self-deception begins to take over. Your brain is a master of pattern recognition, and when it's bored, it starts hallucinating patterns that fit its desire to act. You start zooming in on the time frames, you draw a new trend line, and then the fear of missing out creeps in. But it doesn't look like fear, it dresses up as logic. You start having an internal negotiation. You tell yourself, okay, this isn't exactly my A-plus setup, but look at the volume profile shifting. The moving average is curling. If this breaks out right now, it's going to run fast and hard. That right there is the brilliant, dangerous psychology of FOMO. It's the terrifying, ego-driven thought that the market is about to hand out the golden ticket, and you're going to be the only one standing on the platform watching the train leave. You imagine the pain of sitting on your hands while the money was right there for the taking. You imagine other traders on Twitter catching the exact move you're staring at.
You aren't acting out of stupidity. You're actually using your own intellect to build a perfectly rational, sophisticated excuse to break your own rules. Why? Because underneath that brilliant rationalization, your biology is begging for the dopamine of anticipation. You crave the intellectual thrill of solving the puzzle, of predicting the future, of being right. You convince yourself that taking the trade is the adaptable thing to do. You tell yourself, okay, I'm not breaking my rules. I'm just being a dynamic trader. I'm reading the price action. You're not adapting. You're negotiating with your discipline. And let me tell you a secret. The market absolutely loves a negotiator. It will smile, validate your ego for about 3 minutes, and then quietly empty your wallet. This is not a strategy problem. Stop buying new indicators to fix a psychological leak. This is an identity problem. You're using your high-level intellect to validate your ego and entertain yourself, instead of using your discipline to protect your capital and build your freedom. The shift in perspective. So how do we fix this identity problem? How do we stop negotiating with our own rules? It starts by accepting that real, raw discipline in trading is agonizing. It's the deeply uncomfortable, frankly boring art of doing absolutely nothing when every biological instinct you have is screaming at you to click a button. You have to build a psychological firewall the exact moment you sit at your desk, treating your discipline not as a way to control the charts, but as a weapon to control yourself. To truly understand this kind of mastery, we have to step away from the screens for a minute and look back at history, specifically at a man named Marcus Aurelius. If you don't know who he was, imagine being the CEO of the entire known world. He was the emperor of the Roman Empire nearly 2,000 years ago, holding absolute, unmatched power. But his reign wasn't exactly a luxury vacation. He faced terrifying plagues that wiped out millions, endless wars with invading tribes, severe economic crises, and even heartbreaking betrayals by his closest, most trusted generals. Yet he's remembered today not just as an emperor, but as the ultimate Stoic philosopher. How did a man with the weight of the entire world on his shoulders not completely lose his mind? Because he realized early on that despite being the most powerful man on earth, he couldn't control the weather, he couldn't negotiate with a deadly virus, and he couldn't dictate the unpredictable actions of his enemies. Instead of throwing royal tantrums when things went wrong, he spent his nights in a cold military tent writing in a private journal, which we now call his meditations. He wasn't writing to vent his feelings or complain about his day. He was actively training his own mind to manage his reactions. When a friend betrayed him, he didn't react with blind emotional rage. He reacted with calculated, cold logic. He understood a profound truth that every trader must eventually learn. The external world is pure, unadulterated chaos, and the only kingdom you actually have the power to rule is your own mind. Now, fast forward a few thousand years to today and look at the greatest investor of our time, Warren Buffett. I promise you, Warren is not sitting in a dark, sweaty room with 8 glowing monitors, day trading the 1-minute chart in a state of sheer panic while spilling coffee all over his keyboard. He lives out in Omaha, Nebraska, deliberately far from the manic, dopamine-fueled noise of Wall Street. His entire method is built on excruciatingly long periods of absolute inactivity. He spends most of his day just sitting in a chair, reading and thinking. He famously compares investing to baseball, using the strategy of the legendary hitter Tid Williams, but with one massive, beautiful difference. In the financial markets, there are no cold strikes. You can stand at home plate all day, and the market can throw thousands of pitches at you. Flashy tech stock breakouts, massive crypto rallies, sudden Forex news events, and you don't have to swing at a single one. The crowd can scream at you to swing swing, social media can tell you that you're missing out, but the umpire is never going to call you out for just watching the ball go by. Buffett sits there, sometimes for years at a time, hoarding tens of billions of dollars in cash, doing absolutely nothing but watching the pitches. He waits patiently until that one perfect, undeniable fat pitch crosses his exact mathematical strike zone, and only then does he swing, and he swings heavy. Successful people surrender the illusion of control over the external world, and they take absolute, tyrannical control over themselves. The hidden advantage. When you finally take that tyrannical control over yourself and stop swinging at every single pitch, something almost magical happens to your reality. You transition from being an emotional thrill seeker to operating exactly like the house in a casino. And when that happens, the emotional roller coaster completely stops. Let's be honest for a second.
Some of you take a single, routine loss on a Tuesday morning and you let it ruin your entire week. You are sitting at the dinner table, staring blankly into your mashed potatoes while your family is trying to talk to you, secretly plotting your furious revenge on the Nasdaq. I see you. I have been there. But we have to stop acting like the S&P 500 personally insulted our ancestors. It didn't even know we were in the trade. The roller coaster only stops when we realize that strict discipline grants you the ultimate, most counterintuitive superpower in this industry. We become a professional loser. Amateurs are utterly terrified of losing. They tie their entire ego and self-worth to their win rate. They think a red trade means they are stupid, so they hold on to losing positions way past their stop-loss, sweating and praying for a miraculous bounce just so they don't have to admit defeat. But a professional accepts that losses are literally just the overhead cost of doing business. Think about a high-end restaurant. The owner doesn't sit in the walk-in freezer and cry when a box of tomatoes goes bad. They expect it. They budget for it. It is simply an expense required to serve the meals that actually generate a profit. As a trader, your inventory is risk. You are buying the mathematical probability of a price move. Sometimes that inventory goes bad. The setup fails. When that happens, you take your small, calculated paper cut, you throw the bad tomatoes in the trash, and you calmly move on to the next setup. We are running a high-performance business here, not a charity fund to pay for our broker's new yacht. The secret the top 1% know is that you can actually be wrong more than half the time and still make millions of dollars, as long as you know exactly how to lose. When you master the art of being a professional loser, you completely decouple your ego from your P&L. You stop needing the market to validate your intelligence. You stop desperately trying to prove that you are right, and you start focusing entirely on flawless execution. That shift brings total, unshakable mental peace. And I promise you, in the financial markets, peace pays infinitely more than panic ever will. The 1% Blueprint, Practical Strategies. So, how do we actually reach that level of total mental peace? How do we fix a brain that is biologically programmed to love chaos? I'm going to give you the exact blueprint. These are the practical steps to master your discipline, starting with Step 1. Protect your physical and mental state. Let me clear something up right away. Forget the typical internet guru advice that says you must wake up at 4 a.m., sit in a freezing ice bath, and meditate on a mountain. We trade global markets. They are open all day and night. You absolutely do not have to be a morning person to be a millionaire. But what you absolutely must do is understand that you cannot bring a messy mind into a high-stakes financial arena. Think about it this way.
If you only slept for 3 hours, if you are still angry about a personal argument, and if your heart is racing from drinking too much strong coffee, your brain is not acting like a smart professional. Your brain is acting like a 3-year-old child who somehow got their hands on a loaded credit card. And you're about to let that child gamble with your life savings. It is a disaster waiting to happen. Let's look at the actual psychology here in simple terms. The front part of your brain is responsible for logic and risk management. When you are deeply tired, that logical part physically shuts down. Science shows that trading when you are exhausted is exactly like trading when you are slightly drunk. Would you sit down to trade your money after drinking 3 beers? Probably not, but some of you will gladly try to trade a complex chart on 3 hours of sleep and wonder why you broke all your rules. Or think about your emotions. Let's say you just had a loud argument with your partner about whose turn it was to wash the dishes. You stomp into your office, still angry, your heart is beating fast, and you open your trading charts. Psychologists call this an emotional hijack. Your anger has taken the steering wheel, and your logic is locked in the trunk. When you sit at your desk like that, you're not really analyzing the market. You're secretly trying to take your anger out on the charts. You're trying to win a fight with the Japanese yen because you just lost a fight in your living room. It is a guaranteed way to lose your money. And then there's the trap of time pressure. Tell me if you have done this. You have to leave the house for an appointment in exactly 30 minutes, so you sit down at your desk just to quickly see if anything looks good. Because you're in a rush, your brain creates a fake time limit. Your mind will literally invent a trade setup that isn't really there, just so you can click a button, feel productive, and say, "I traded today," before you leave the house. You force a bad trade simply because you're in a hurry. If you are physically exhausted, emotionally angry, or rushed for time, your absolute best, most profitable trading decision of the day is to keep your computer turned off. And honestly, there are a million other situations that can mess up your mindset. We could sit here all day listing them. Maybe you're stressed about an unexpected bill, or maybe your cat just threw up on your favorite rug before the opening bell. The problem doesn't matter. The golden rule is simple. Before you start your trading session, do a brutally honest check of your mental state. If something feels even a little bit off, you do not trade. Make sure you have plenty of free time. There should be no ticking clock chasing you and absolutely no appointment waiting for you that forces you to rush a decision. You want to sit down feeling calm, grounded, and completely boringly normal. Why is this so important? Because this calm, clear state of mind is the only way you'll see the market from a balanced, neutral perspective. When your mind is quiet, there is no fear of missing out. There is no desperate rush to make money to pay your rent. You stop inventing trade setups that don't exist. You simply see the chart and the price levels exactly for what they are, not as a magical ATM machine that owes you a new car, but just pure, honest data on the screen. This is exactly why you must analyze your charts before your actual trading session even begins. You draw your lines, find your levels, and build your game plan while the market is quiet and your mind is totally relaxed. Only after you have prepared your mental state and fully prepared your chart analysis in total peace are you actually ready to step into the arena and trade.
Step 2. Recode your reward system. Once your mind is clear and your charts are prepared in total peace, the market opens. And this is exactly where we have to fix the most dangerous glitch in your biology. We have to recode your reward system. Right now, your brain throws a massive loud party when you make money, and it aggressively punishes you with guilt and anger when you lose money. We have to completely break that cycle. Money is just a byproduct of your process. From now on, you need to start grading yourself entirely on your execution.
If you meticulously followed your trading plan, managed your risk perfectly, took the correct setup, and the trade hit your stop loss, congratulations. I mean that sincerely. That is a 10 out of 10 trading day. You did your job perfectly. The market just politely disagreed with you. On the flip side, if you broke your rules, revenge traded on a wild whim, risked half your account and magically made $5,000, that is a massive failure. Honestly, it is the worst thing that can possibly happen to you. Your brain just learned that reckless behavior gets rewarded with cash. You might be smiling today, but you just planted the seed for your future bankruptcy. Listen to me carefully. It is totally fine to have a losing day. It is even fine to have multiple losing days in a row. Every single trader on Earth, even the billionaires with private jets, has bad days. After all, trading is essentially trying to predict the future. We're making highly educated guesses based on historical data. We're not fortune tellers with a crystal ball hidden under our desks. Sometimes the market will simply refuse to behave according to your guess, and that is perfectly okay. So what actually separates a consistently profitable trader from someone who is currently working hard to sponsor their broker's next luxury vacation? It comes down to two very specific things. First, the professional trades small. If a pro takes 10 consecutive losses, it is mildly annoying, like a mosquito bite. The actual money lost is so insignificant that it does not throw off their mental state. They can comfortably afford it. Now, I know some of you watching this like to trade just a little bit bigger than you should. Okay, maybe a lot bigger. You know exactly who you are, sitting there sweating over the 1-minute chart, calculating if you need to sell your car if this next candle closes red. I say this with love, but when you trade sizes that make your stomach drop, your logic completely shuts down. When you hit a losing streak with a massive position, the financial pain is so severe that it physically hurts. You start revenge trading because you are desperate to make the pain stop, not because the chart actually gave you a signal. Do your heart a favor and lower your position size. The second difference is pure mathematical confidence. Professionals know that even if they're having a terrible red week, there is a very high probability they will still end the month or the year in the green. How do they know this? Did a market ghost visit them in their sleep? No, they just did their homework. They back-tested their trading system across hundreds of historical trades. They know the math. But for my friends who like to skip the homework, I hate to be the one to tell you this. If you have not put in the hours to backtest your system, you have absolutely no ground to stand on. You are just guessing with real money. Without the hard proof of historical data backing you up, the moment you hit 3 consecutive losses, you will naturally panic. You will completely lose faith in your strategy, abandon your rules, and start making highly emotional decisions. Backtesting is the solid, unshakable ground your confidence stands on. Go do your homework. Think of a casino. The house does not throw a confetti party when a tourist loses a hand of blackjack, and the casino manager certainly does not panic, sweat, and rewrite the rules of the game just because someone hits the jackpot. They just calmly trust the math over the long run. Stop celebrating the money. Celebrate the execution. Trust your homework and be the house. Once you learn to think like the house and trust your math, you have to learn how the house actually behaves. And spoiler alert, it involves a whole lot of sitting around doing absolutely nothing. This brings us to step 3. Master the art of the ambush. In normal life, we are taught that doing nothing means you're being lazy, but in trading, patience is not passive. People think waiting means you aren't doing anything, but waiting is actually highly active, calculated restraint. It takes a massive amount of psychological energy to stare at moving money and force your hand to stay off the mouse. Let me guess what happens to some of you. You sit down, you stare at the charts for 2 solid hours, you drink your coffee, and absolutely nothing lines up with your rules. As the clock ticks, your brain starts whispering, well, I can't just log off with 0 trades. That means I wasted my entire morning. I have to find something. No, you did not waste your morning. You spent 2 hours actively defending your bank account from a terrible market. That absolutely counts as work. In trading, less is very often more. A day with 0 trades, where you successfully avoided a losing setup in a choppy market, is actually a massive winning day. It is always better to violently protect your capital on a bad market day than to risk it all just because you felt bored and wanted some activity. Capital preservation is the ultimate flex. And please listen to me on this one. When your designated trading session is over, close the laptop. Do not linger around for another hour hoping the market will suddenly take pity on you. I know some of you sit there thinking, I've been staring at this screen for 3 hours, surely the market is going to reward my hard work with a beautiful, easy setup any minute now. I say this with love, but the market is not your mother. It doesn't care how hard you tried today. It doesn't care that you stared at it until your eyes hurt. The market is completely heartless. Or maybe just totally innocent and carefree. It isn't crashing the price to hurt your feelings. It just does exactly what it wants to do whenever it wants to do it. It cannot be guilt-tripped into giving you a trade. So stop acting like a panicked machine gunner, firing at every shadow that moves across your screen, hoping to hit a target before you log off. Become a sniper. Look at the apex predators in nature. A crocodile spends 90% of its time resting, observing, completely camouflaged in the mud. It does not chase every single fish that swims by. That would exhaust it. It waits until the perfect prey steps exactly into its kill zone, where the probability of success is mathematically in its favor. Only then does it expend energy. You must define your exact setup. Write it down. If the market does not present that exact setup during your trading hours, you do not shoot. You sit in the grass, you wait, and if the time runs out, you pack up your gear and you go home with your capital perfectly intact. If you manage to sit in the grass and wait, eventually you're going to take a shot, and sometimes, despite all your preparation, you're going to miss.
Step 4. Choose your pain. Let's be brutally honest for a second. If you got into trading because you thought it was just sipping mojitos on a beach while money passively falls into your lap, I am so sorry to ruin the illusion. Trading will always involve pain. It is an inherently uncomfortable profession that constantly forces you to be wrong. But here is the beautiful part. You actually get to choose your pain from a menu. Option A is the sharp, temporary sting of discipline. This is the pain of ripping off the Band-Aid. It is the sting of cutting a loss exactly where you said you would, even when a little voice in your head says, wait, maybe it'll bounce. It is the highly annoying pain of watching a stock rocket to the moon without you because it missed your entry criteria by 5 cents. It stings, your ego takes a little bruise, but 5 minutes later, you are totally fine. Your capital is safe, your mind is clear, and you are ready for the next setup. Option B is the heavy, suffocating, compounding agony of regret. Let's talk about this one because I know some of you are very familiar with it. This is the pain you choose when you try to avoid option A. You don't want to take the 1% loss, so you just hold. And suddenly, by pure magic, you transform from a precision day trader into a long-term fundamental investor purely out of desperation. You stop trading the chart and you start trading hopium. We all know where this leads. It leads to the 3 a.m. ceiling stare. You know exactly what I am talking about. You are lying in bed, your heart is pounding, and you are doing mental math in the dark, trying to calculate how many weeks of your actual day job it will take to recover the money you just blew in one afternoon because you refused to click close position.
Human biology is deeply wired to avoid immediate pain. Your brain will trick you into holding a losing trade just to avoid the temporary discomfort of admitting to the market that you were wrong. You have to accept that pain is the admission ticket to this game. But you are in control of which ticket you buy. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. Choose your pain wisely, because the market is standing right there like a waiter, and it will gladly serve you whichever one you order. Mindset reinforcement. Now that we know exactly what kind of pain we are ordering from the menu, we need to make sure you consistently make the right choice. And to make this stick, we have to completely reframe your identity. You see, checking your mental state before you trade, taking the time to backtest, keeping your position size small, and sitting on your hands when the market is a mess, these are no longer just annoying chores you do because a YouTube video told you to. These are declarations of who you are. When you sit down at your desk tomorrow, I want you to look at your screen and tell yourself, I am a risk manager. You are no longer a retail trader hoping to catch a lucky break. You are the CEO of your own private risk management firm. Your only job is to protect your inventory, which is your capital, and only deploy it when the math is heavily in your favor. If we are going to adopt this new identity, we need to slay a few of the most common excuses right here, right now. I hear this one all the time, but the market is moving without me. Okay, let it move. The market is a never-ending river of money. It flows almost 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, and 24/7 if you trade crypto. Missing a breakout on a random Tuesday morning is not a life or death situation. You are not missing the last rescue helicopter out of a zombie apocalypse. You just missed a trade. Take a deep breath, sip your coffee, and wait for the next one. There is always a next one. Then there is the deadliest excuse of all. But I need to make $500 today to pay my bills. You are trying to force your personal financial timeline onto a completely random, uncontrollable entity. It is like yelling at the ocean because you need it to rain. It doesn't work, and it will only make you drown faster. Leave your personal problems at the door, because the charts only speak the language of probability, not pity.
The challenge. I am not going to just leave you with words today. I am giving you a challenge. For the next 10 trading days, I challenge you to completely ignore your profit and loss. In fact, I want you to go into your platform settings and hide your PML. Put a piece of physical tape over the dollar amount on your screen if you have to. For 1 week, your only metric of success is a 100% score on rule adherence. Did you wait for your setup? Check. Did you honor your stop loss? Check. Did you walk away when you were supposed to? Check. Did you follow all your trading rules? Check. Try it, just for 10 trading days. I guarantee you will feel the itching discomfort of true discipline for the first few days. Your brain will scream for its dopamine hit. But if you push through it, on the other side is an immense, unshakable clarity. The choice is yours right now. You can stay exactly the same. You can stay stressed, anxious, consistently unprofitable, riding the emotional roller coaster until you finally run out of capital and quit. Or you can step into the discomfort. You can put on the armor of discipline, master your biology, and rise up to join the 5%. Let me leave you with one final truth. The market will always offer you another setup tomorrow, but it does not have a customer service department, and it will never issue a refund for your shattered confidence once you destroy it with bad discipline. Stop fighting the market. It is currently undefeated. Start conquering yourself instead. If you enjoyed getting roasted today, hit that subscribe button. Welcome to Trader Whisper,
where we fix your brain before we even look at your charts. Drop a comment below with the one rule you are absolutely committing to today. Put it in writing so the internet can hold you accountable. I will see you in the next one. Stay disciplined.